Good evening from a dry, clear-skied but rather cold Newcastle upon Tyne, where the huge crowd that has gathered here in the exhibition park on the town moor for tonight's firework fiesta expects to be warmed up well and truly by the entertainment. Now, wherever you go in this magnificent city, on every available hoarding and hanging from every lamppost, you'll see standards proclaiming Newcastle 900. Because this year, the city is celebrating the 900th anniversary of its founding on the banks of the River Tyne, with the building of the new castle there, the ruins of which, the keep and walls, can still be seen as a very clear landmark to all railway travellers arriving or passing through, as I've said, this splendid city. During the year, there have been two royal visits, one earlier in the year from Her Majesty the Queen Mother, another from His Majesty the King of Norway. There have been children's parties and cultural events and concerts. In fact, all sorts of mayhem has gone on, of which this firework fiesta is to be one of the final events in the year. It starts tonight with a torchlight procession, which I can hear but cannot as yet see. It should be appearing over the hill rather shortly, but that does give me time to speak to a gentleman who's also waiting for that procession to arrive.
Shame to burn him, as one of the girls carrying him said to me earlier.
Well, that procession's got an awful long way to go before it can deposit its guy on top of the bonfire. So in the meantime, I've got a gentleman with me who's extremely well known to children up and down the country through his visits to schools, to youth groups, to holiday camps, all in the interest of safety. He is, in fact, Britain's Mr. Safety.
And it's a delight to be back up here in Newcastle, where we've been doing a lot recently. I think the best advice that I can give the boys and girls and everyone is to remember the special word that we use during our home safety and road safety shows, which is think. You have one life, look after it, and the best advice I think I can give is to, well, remember to think and don't end up like the guy on the fire.
That's pretty good advice indeed. But what about letting off fireworks themselves?
I think, if possible, go to an organised bonfire. This is obviously the sensible thing to do. And if one can't get, then for goodness sake, let the grown-up, responsible grown-up, look after the procedure.
Pyrotechnical wizard, the Reverend Ron Lancaster, who's devised the display which takes place beside the exhibition lake and in front of the city's Science Museum. And there go the first star shells into the sky. And Ron has even managed to float some of the fireworks on the water itself, which magnificently mirrors the display to the delight of the crowd. Incidentally, thousands have flocked here today, causing massive traffic jams, but no one seems to mind. They're here to enjoy themselves. The fireworks in the display tonight, mainly in the air. It's an aerial display, but there are a few set pieces. I'll just let them unfold for you. This is a very complicated display for Ron to put on. Most of the fireworks lit electronically. You can see some of the wires there running behind those Roman candles. Of course, that's a very much safer way of starting them off than having fellas rushing around with boxes of matches. now the sky is lit with multicolored star shells. And contrary to what you might think, Ron uses no rockets in his presentation at all. He has some giant cardboard tubes. They look rather like military rocket launchers, and they fire the shells high up into the sky, some 150, 200 feet or so. The technical term for them, I think, is mortars. And after that brilliant aerial display, Ron lets the crowd get its breath back before he presents his overture to another set piece. Once again, the mortars take over. So from the sky back to earth, and a really delightful waterfall. And those explosions herald the climax of the whole display.
So, an estimated 50,000 people now in the park who have enjoyed that splendid display as Guy Fawkes makes his last few yards towards the fire itself. I've already spoken to the 4 youngsters who are carting him along, and hear what the crowd think about it. They want him on this fire.
I think I agree with them too, though whilst it'll warm everyone up, as one of the girls did say, he's far too good to burn. My word, he is a good Guy Fawkes there. As they lift him up from his sedan chair to put him on a special platform on the bonfire. Someone's just called out, be awful careful or he's heat. I think that's a very wise observation. It is wobbling a bit, but as they've carted him around now for some 2 miles, I think it would be a great shame if he came apart just before they got him onto the bonfire. But he looks as though he's there in one piece. The bonfire itself, 20 feet high, took 3 days to build. The acid test, of course, comes when they put the torch to it. Does it fall apart and disintegrate, or does it stay there? But it looks a pretty sturdy job to me. All 20 feet high of it. Well, many thousands of people here in Newcastle will remember this firework fiesta, one of the final festivities in the year-long party which has celebrated the founding of this most go-ahead city. We're delighted to have been able to take part in the celebrations and hope you've enjoyed our presentation. So, from a cold but rapidly warming up Tyneside, good night.
Thank you.